When you get dressed in the morning, what are you thinking about? Most women are thinking about what is clean, what fits, what is appropriate for the day ahead. They are making practical decisions, and they believe that style, real style, is something separate from those decisions. Something that requires money, or a particular body, or a gift for it that they either have or they don't. That belief is the most expensive misunderstanding most women carry. Because what wealthy women who are genuinely impeccable, who walk into rooms and are taken seriously before they have spoken a word, understand about personal style, has almost nothing to do with fashion. It has to do with psychology, with neuroscience, with how the human brain processes another person in 1/10 of a second, and what that brain then decides, without being asked, about who that person is and whether they matter. Most women are dressing for how they feel. The women I'm going to describe today are dressing for what clothing does, to other people's perception of them, and to their own brain's capacity to think, decide, and perform. Those are two completely different relationships with a wardrobe, and the gap between them explains almost everything you have ever observed about why certain women seem to command rooms they walk into, while others, equally accomplished, are quietly overlooked. Today, I'm giving you 5 specific things that wealthy women understand about personal style that most women are never told. And I want you to stay until the end, because I have something for you. The Elegant Morning Routine Checklist, 12 Rituals of Women Who Are Timeless, Healthy, and Undeniable After 40. A free gift that puts everything in this video into daily practice, and I will give it to you when you get there. Now let's begin. Point 1. Style isn't judged. It's prejudged in 1/10 of a second. Most women believe they are judged on their style. They are not. They are prejudged before a word is spoken, before a credential is offered, before any content of who they are has had the opportunity to enter the room. And the timeline for that prejudgment is not the several seconds most people imagine. It is 1/10 of a second. The research on this is not contested. I am going to show you what is happening in that 1/10 of a second and what it means for every morning dressing decision you will ever make. But first, there is something you need to understand about how fast the human brain forms a first impression. In 15 years of moving through rooms where professional standing was the currency, boardrooms, buying offices, private client dinners, I watched this phenomenon operate without exception. A woman would enter, and the room would have already decided something about her before she reached the nearest person. Not consciously. The brain does not announce its verdicts, but the subsequent quality of attention she received, the degree to which people leaned in or looked past her, these were determined before she introduced herself. I understood this intuitively from years of observation. The research confirmed it precisely. A study from Princeton University, examining how quickly people form lasting impressions, found that trait judgments, including trustworthiness, competence, and likability, are made within 100 milliseconds of seeing a face and a body. 100 milliseconds. 1/10 of a second. And critically, additional exposure time did not substantially change the judgment. The first impression formed in 1/10 of a second was the impression that held. The implications are specific and actionable. What you wear to the moment of first contact, the entrance, the handshake, the first 10 seconds in any room is doing more to determine how you are received in that room than anything you will say or do afterward. This is not an argument for vanity. It is an argument for understanding what tool you are working with every time you get dressed. A woman in my network, a venture capitalist in her early 50s, who has sat on both sides of the funding table, told me something I have thought about many times. I made the decision about whether I was interested in a founder in the first 7 seconds. I am not proud of that, but I have stopped pretending it isn't true, and I dress accordingly. Resolve. Dress for the first 10 seconds of every significant encounter, not the full day, not the meeting agenda, not the occasion in its entirety. Ask yourself, in the first 10 seconds of this room, what do I want the prejudgment to be? Competent? Authoritative? Warm and assured? Let the answer govern the dressing decision specifically. The rest of your time in that room will either confirm or complicate the impression you made before you spoke. Make the impression worth confirming. And what I'm about to give you next reframes the wardrobe entirely. Because wealthy women don't dress only to manage how others perceive them. They dress to manage what their own brain is capable of. And the research on this is one of the most underreported findings in applied psychology. Before we go into the second point, I want to mention something briefly. The full framework behind dressing, presence, and identity, covering exactly how women translate these principles into a daily standard, is exactly what our Undeniable's complete system covers in detail, 7 complete guides, including identity, presence, first impressions, social mastery, wellness, standards, and your morning ritual. Everything the most elegant, vital, and undeniable version of you needs, built into one system for less than a dinner out. It's linked in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen. Now, point two. Clothing doesn't just change how others see her. It changes what her own brain is capable of. Most women dress to present themselves to other people. The women who understand style most deeply dress partly for an audience that no one else can see, their own nervous system. Because clothing does not simply change how others perceive you. It changes what your own brain is capable of in measurable, documented, specific ways. And most women have never been told this clearly enough to act on it. There is something you need to understand about the relationship between what you wear and what you are able to think. I dress with intention every day, regardless of what the day holds, regardless of whether I am seeing anyone outside my apartment. This is not a performance. It is a practice I began in my late 30s and have never abandoned. Not because I was told to, but because I noticed, before I understood the mechanism, that the quality of my thinking on days I dressed carefully was different from the quality of my thinking on days I didn't. The research that explains this mechanism is called Enclothed Cognition, a term coined by researchers 𝐒𝐡𝐻 𝐈𝐬𝐚 and Adam Galinsky at Northwestern University. Their studies demonstrated that wearing specific types of clothing produced measurable changes in the cognitive performance of the people wearing them, not because of how others perceived them, but because of what wearing the garment activated internally. Participants who wore a lab coat and were told it was a doctor's coat performed significantly better on attention tasks than participants who wore the same coat and were told it was a painter's coat. The garment was identical. The cognitive effect was not. The meaning the wearer attributed to the clothing changed what their brain was capable of while wearing it. The analogy that makes this concrete: clothing is not a costume you put on for other people. It is a physical cue that tells your own nervous system who you are in this moment, and therefore what you are capable of in this moment. Dress like someone who is uncertain and recovering, and your brain processes the day from that state. Dress like someone who has arrived, composed, intentional, prepared, and your brain begins the day from that state instead. Resolve. Get dressed with intention every morning regardless of the day's agenda. Not elaborately, intentionally. The specific choice matters less than the deliberateness of the choice. Ask before you dress, who am I being today, and what does that woman wear? The answer activates the cognitive state before the day has made a single demand. The next point makes the enclothed cognition finding even more specific. Because it is not just any clothing that changes cognitive capacity, it is formality level specifically. And what formal dressing does to the scale of a woman's thinking is something most women have never considered as a tool they can pick up and use. Point 3. Formality doesn't just make her look powerful. It makes her think in bigger terms. Most women associate formal dressing with specific occasions: a presentation, a job interview, an important meeting. Formality in this framing is responsive. You dress up when the occasion demands it. The women who understand style most deeply use formality proactively as a tool to access a specific cognitive mode before the occasion requires it. Because research shows that formality level does not just change how powerful you appear to others, it changes the scale at which your own brain thinks. I attended a dinner several years ago on the Upper West Side, a small gathering of women, most of them in significant positions across finance and the arts. At some point in the evening, one of them, a woman who manages a substantial private family office, said something that I found so precise it has stayed with me exactly. She said, "I have a rule. On the days I need to think about the next 5 years, I dress for the next 5 years. I cannot think big in clothes that feel small. She was describing, without knowing the research, exactly what a study from Columbia University and California State University found when they examined the relationship between formal clothing and cognitive style. Participants wearing formal business attire demonstrated significantly higher rates of abstract, big-picture thinking compared to participants in casual dress. Not smarter thinking, differently scaled thinking. Formal dress activated what psychologists call psychological distance, the cognitive mode associated with long-term planning, strategic thinking, and consideration of principles rather than immediate logistics. Casual dress produced the opposite, more concrete, immediate, detail-focused thinking. The implication for how you dress on any given day is significant and specific. The clothes you choose in the morning are not just a response to your day. They are a prescription for the quality of thought your day will contain. Resolve. On any day when you need to think strategically, plan, create, decide at a level above the immediate, dress formally. Not for anyone else, for your own cognitive access. Elevate the formality of what you wear on the days that require your best thinking, and let the clothing do part of the work of getting your brain into the right register before you begin. But here is where most people stop. And the next point makes the wardrobe something most women have never thought to examine in these terms. Because most women's wardrobes are not just a collection of clothing, they are an unmanaged mood regulation system. And most women have no idea what their wardrobe is doing to their emotional baseline every single day. Point 4. Her wardrobe isn't a style statement. It's an unmanaged mood regulation system. Your wardrobe is affecting your mood every day. Not occasionally, not on the bad days, every day, before you leave the house, while you are getting dressed, and throughout every hour you spend in what you chose. Most women know this vaguely. What they have not been told is the specific mechanism and what it means practically for how a wardrobe should be curated. I'm going to give you both, but first, there is something you need to understand about how clothing and emotion interact at the neurological level. I journal every evening, 3 things I observed that day, 1 principle I'm refining, 1 intention for tomorrow. I began this practice after my divorce, when the structure of a daily written reflection gave me an anchor I needed. And one pattern I noticed in my journals over the first year was consistent. The days I described as productive, composed, and purposeful almost always began with a deliberate dressing choice. The days I described as scattered or depleted almost always began with a default, something grabbed without thought, something that fit the mood rather than setting one. Research from the University of Queensland examining the relationship between clothing choices and emotional state found a consistent bidirectional relationship. Emotional state influences clothing choice, and clothing choice reinforces and often amplifies emotional state. The effect operates through what psychologists call embodied emotion. The body's physical experience of what it is wearing sends signals to the brain that are interpreted as emotional information. Tight, restrictive clothing activates mild stress responses. Soft, comfortable but shapeless clothing is associated with low motivation and reduced self-efficacy. Structured, well-fitted clothing that a woman associates with her capable, composed self activates the emotional and cognitive correlates of that identity. The implication is direct. A wardrobe full of pieces that were purchased for other emotional states, impulse purchases, comfort purchases, aspirational purchases that never quite fit, is a wardrobe that is activating a range of emotional states every morning, most of them unintended, none of them managed. Which is exactly what our Undeniables Complete System covers in detail, a complete blueprint for the identity, presence, and wardrobe standards that govern how the most elegant women build and maintain a wardrobe that works for them at every level. It's linked in the description below. Resolve, audit your wardrobe for emotional resonance, not just for style. For every piece you own, ask, when I wear this, what state does it put me in? Remove pieces that consistently activate states of depletion, self-consciousness, or ambivalence, regardless of their cost or condition. Keep only pieces that activate composure, capability, or ease. This is not minimalism as an aesthetic. It is wardrobe curation as mood management. These are different goals that produce the same result, a wardrobe that works for you every single morning. Stopping here isn't complete. The final point is the one that determines whether everything else in this video actually lands in the room you walk into. Because grooming is not an addendum to style. It is the finish that determines whether fabric does its job or fails it. And the specific way it fails when it's incomplete is something most women have never been told this directly. Point 5. Grooming finishes. What fabric starts, and skipping it erases everything else. Most women treat grooming as optional enhancement, something that adds a finishing touch when time permits, and is skipped when it doesn't. This framing fundamentally misunderstands the relationship between grooming and clothing. Grooming is not an addition to what clothing is doing. It is the completion of it. Without it, clothing cannot fully do its job, and what specifically gets erased when grooming is incomplete is more damaging than most women realize. I'm going to show you the mechanism. But first, there is something you need to understand about how the brain processes a complete appearance versus an incomplete one. My skincare routine takes 12 minutes every morning and is never shortened. My hands are maintained on a consistent schedule. My fragrance, the same one I have worn for over a decade, is applied as the last step before I leave. These are not indulgences. They are the completion of a standard that would be undermined without them. I learned their importance not from a beauty editor, but from watching what happened in rooms when they were absent in others. I was at a lunch meeting in my consulting years with a woman who was exceptionally well-dressed. The clothing was impeccable, the fit was correct, the color choices were considered. But her hands were unattended. Her skin had not been cared for that morning, and her hair was resolved rather than finished. The overall impression was of a woman who had dressed her clothing and not dressed herself. The clothing was present. She was not quite inside it. Research on the halo effect, the well-documented cognitive phenomenon in which one positive attribute elevates perception across all others and one negative attribute degrades it, demonstrates that grooming functions as the completion signal for the rest of the appearance. A study examining appearance judgments found that participants rated individuals with polished grooming significantly higher across unrelated dimensions, including intelligence, professional competence, and social confidence, not because of the grooming itself, but because its presence signaled thoroughness. Its absence signaled the opposite, regardless of how well everything else was assembled. The analogy I return to most often: grooming is the frame of the painting. Extraordinary work in an unfinished frame reads as incomplete. The painting does not change. The frame determines whether it is taken seriously. Resolve. Establish a grooming standard and hold it without exception, not as a beauty routine, but as the final step in a daily standard of self-respect. Skin tended, hands maintained, hair resolved with intention, not resignation. Fragrance, a signature you wear consistently that becomes part of how you are remembered. These are not extras. They are the completion of everything else you are doing. Here is the complete picture. Point 1. Style is prejudged in 1/10 of a second, meaning every dressing decision is a communication decision made before you have the chance to speak. Point 2. Clothing changes not only how others perceive you, but what your own brain is capable of through the mechanism of enclothed cognition, which activates specific cognitive states through the act of wearing. Point 3. Formality level specifically determines the scale of your thinking. Formal dress activates the abstract, strategic, long-term cognitive mode that big decisions require. Point 4. Your wardrobe is a mood regulation system, managed or unmanaged. It is affecting your emotional baseline every single day. And curation is the act of making that system work deliberately in your favor. Point 5. Grooming is not a finishing touch. It is the completion signal that determines whether everything else reads as intentional or incomplete. And to put all of this into a daily morning practice, the exact ritual architecture that makes these 5 principles sustainable from the moment you wake, go get the Elegant Morning Routine Checklist from the link in the description below. It is there for you, free right now. Go get it now. These are not style opinions. They are the psychological and neurological realities behind what wealthy women have always known and acted on consistently, without requiring an explanation for why it mattered. Now you have the explanation and the standard. The next step is the full blueprint. The Undeniables Complete System. 7 complete guides covering identity, presence, first impressions, social mastery, wellness, standards, and your morning ritual. Everything the most elegant, vital, and undeniable version of you needs, built into one system for less than a dinner out. It is linked in the description or scan the QR code on your screen. You came here knowing something was missing from how you thought about style. What you are leaving with is the psychology behind why it matters, and that changes every morning from this point forward. I'll see you in the next one. Isabel?